I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 187. If you don't already know, I'm Kev Tardello, coming to you on Friday, January 17th. And we've got some new Bobcats to go over. New players, new quarterbacks, plural quarterbacks, new coaches. A lot has happened since the last episode, a lot to go over. Thankfully, this one is a mailbag episode. So lots of burning questions from you sickos out there. Appreciate everyone who submitted those. We will have lots of questions to go over all this info. Before we get there, I'll do a little recap of basketball, talk some basketball, talk a little bit about the coaches and the players, and then we'll get to your questions because I know a lot of those questions are around some of that. Also, we'll dive into college football in general, college sports in general by talking about some revenue sharing, lots of stuff going on in that world. What else is new? Lots of things changing in the landscape of college sports. Before we get to any of that, though, this episode is brought to you by First Lockhart National Bank. As the largest financial institution headquartered in Caldwell County, First Lockhart National Bank expanded to San Marcos in 2018 and opened a state-of-the-art branch on Hunter Road in 2020. For the past 6 years, FLNB has provided a wide range of financial services that have significantly improved the quality of life for the San Marcos community and beyond. Whether you need personal or business checking accounts, business loans, or home mortgages, they've got you covered. Plus, they offer innovative services like video banking, business banking, and a top-of-the-line mobile banking app. FLNB is also a huge supporter of Tech State football, standing out as one of the largest initial investors in NIL deals for Bobcats players. Be sure to follow them on Twitter, X, @FirstLockhart, and on Instagram, @FirstLockhart. Not TikTok, though. TikTok's gone. Oh, my goodness. Shout out to my guy, Gil Hodges, Executive Vice President and Chief Lending Officer at FLNB. Congrats on that promotion, buddy. FLNB NMLS number 2475765. A proud Texas State grad and a diehard fan. We are thrilled to be partnering with Gil and FLNB all season long. You can find them at 2507 Hunter Road. That's 2507 Hunter Road, or give them a call at 512-504-7422. Again, that's 512-504-7422. First Lockhart National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions may vary. Ran into my guy Gil at the basketball game earlier this week on Wednesday, the blackout at Strahan. It was nice to see him. He's living it fat on the courtside seats. I saw him right there in the middle of the action. You'd see Gil. Congrats again on that promotion to Gil, Executive Vice President and Chief Lending Officer now. Our guy Gil, moving up in the world. Hey, Bobcat Nation. Looking for your next real estate move? McNabb and Company Real Estate Services has been proudly Bobcat owned and operated for over 15 years. They're your go-to team for buying, selling, investing, and managing properties and everything else in between. Whether you're a fan or an alum, they've got the local expertise and full-service support you need. Call them today at 512-667-9129. Again, that's 512-667-9129, or visit them at mcnabbandco.com. That's MCNABB, mcnabbandco.com. McNabb and Company, where Bobcats find their home. Give them a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and X at McNabb & Co. Thank you to Monica Katz, a day one Bobcat supporter. Now she's partnering with us this season. Make sure you check them out again, mcnabbandco.com, MCNABB, mcnabbandco.com. I know they're having a great NIL bash at the end of this month at Zelix. Once again, we will be promoting that heavily before that happens at the end of the month. So shout out again to Monica Katz and to Seth Katz over at Zelix. My guy Benji as well over there. The whole crew. But check them out, mcnabbandco.com, MCNABB, mcnabbandco.com. And one of our oldest sponsors, Austin Patchmaster. Drywall, sheetrock, plaster repair, cracked walls and ceilings, paint job, dings and dents, popcorn ceiling removal. Did you punch a hole in your wall after you found out Ben Bell was going to Virginia Tech? Well, whether you're moving in, moving out, or just looking to upgrade, Austin Patchmaster has you covered. Owned and operated by Tech State grad and a true Tech State sicko, Michael Clements. Austin Patchmaster is one of our first sponsors, and they jump back in to finish out the season. If you're in the Austin, San Marcos area, they can come to you and help you out. But if you're in the Houston, Dallas area, they can hit you with a referral as a franchise for Patchmaster. But if you're in this area, hit them up at austin.patchmaster.com. Again, that's austin.patchmaster.com. You can call them at 512-200-3888, 512-200-3888, austin.patchmaster.com. And we're going to get them all out of the way at the top this time. So one more at the top from TGC LLC, the GalindoCollective.com. That's GALINDO, GalindoCollective.com, a team of professional consultants dedicated to helping others realize their business potential through people, planning, and practice. Their services cover a wide range of areas such as business strategy, marketing, human resources, and financial planning. If you own property or a business and want to maximize its profitability, contact TGC at thegalindocollective.com. That's GALINDO, GalindoCollective.com, and follow their social media platforms on Twitter, X, at TGC_LLC, and on Instagram and Facebook at The Galindo Collective. Shout out to my guy, Rick Galindo, a Tech State grad, a true Tech State sicko. He's been with us since before last season, sticking with us all through 2025 as well. He got us to the bowl game this year, got us to the bowl game last year, got us to the Sunbelt Media Day in New Orleans over summer. He has just been a fountain of support for us at this pod. So I cannot thank Rick Galindo enough. Check them out. Throw your support at them for all your business needs, your business consulting needs. GalindoCollective.com, GALINDO, GalindoCollective.com. All right. A lot of ads at the top. Wanted to clear space. Had to box out the time. We have lots to go over. I'm going to try and keep this under an hour. It's always hard with the mailbags. Lots of questions as well. Let them marinate for a few days. It seems like more and more news kept trickling throughout the week. I called for the mailbag on Tuesday. I was initially planning to do this Thursday morning after the game on Wednesday, and then things were happening yesterday, and even more things happened this morning. So it worked out pretty well because we have lots to go over. Plenty to go over with football. I know you're all dying to hear about that. Let's talk some basketball, though, real fast. Not real fast. We'll dive into it pretty good. A little more than we have been. I've been jumping back into it more so since the bowl game ended. You know, football takes up a lot of time covering and everything, and this is the time I can fully immerse in basketball in between tweeting about who's transferring into Texas State and what coach is coming or leaving and what all is happening with everything. It's a lot of fun. I was just talking to Reese Largent, our great intern here at Windauer Get Bent. I was like, if you learn anything from this internship, it's that this is always interesting. There's always something going on. You're never left hanging as far as coverage and content needs. But basketball, let's talk about basketball. They just had a game on Wednesday against Georgia State. It was a blackout game. Nice, healthy amount of fans, about 2,300 fans. Wasn't a sellout, but good amount of fans, better than the attendance has been this year. For that event, it will start to increase as we get closer to the tournament. That seems what always happens. Once the new year hits, then it seems like more and more fans start to come out. And this team seems to be hitting their stride as well. You know, I loosely was watching them before early on in the season. The last few weeks, I've been really watching them intently. And I hate that they keep losing leads, or I'm sorry, I hate that they keep getting behind and having to come back the way they've been doing. Sometimes it's worked out where they've put up these great comebacks on these teams, but then there's other times like Southern Miss where they lost in overtime the other day when they definitely should have had that, although there's some shenanigans with the refs in that one. That was a weird deal. But let's do an overview of Tech State men's basketball. 10-8 right now. 7th in the Sunbelt standings out of 14 teams. Now, Sunbelt tournament, all the teams make it, all 14 teams. So they're not in danger of being eliminated from the tournament. Middle of the pack right now, though, and if they move up, they could be strategic as far as getting some buys. Although we've seen that happen where 2021, 2022, where the Bobcats, they won the Sunbelt regular season, and they actually got buys all the way to the semifinals, which that's how the Sun Belt tournament works. You get pushed all the way to the end, but it's a lot of downtime, a lot of waiting, and we saw that affect them pretty negatively with 2 first round exits, if you will, in the Sun Belt tournament after winning the regular season championship. And then we've seen it the past 2 years where they were one of the lower ranked teams and they didn't have any buys, and they'd go in there and they'd rattle off 3 straight games. So it's a rust versus rest scenario there. Where do you really want to get to the top and then be off for almost 2 weeks, a week and a half for a while? So it is a bit of an interesting deal. I think that the sweet spot is probably like 3 to 4. They could definitely get there with I think it's like 12 games remaining, all but one of them in conference left for the Bobcats. So they have some time to climb up the standings. In fact, let's look at the standings. I know I can find that real fast because it was just on the Sunbelt page. Yep, there we go, right here. Yeah, see, it's a real race in the middle. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams at 3-3 in Sunbelt play right now. The other top 5 teams, 4 of the top 5 are at 4-2 in Sunbelt play, so just 1 game difference there. And the top team in the Sunbelt is South Alabama at 5-1 in the Sunbelt. They're 13-5 overall. Texas State's 10-8. Everybody in the mix in between the Bobcats is all in that area. So there's plenty of time to move up these standings, plenty of time to move down these standings as well. It feels like this team is really starting to hit their stride. Terrence Johnson, February has been his month. This is his 4th year coaching 5th year coaching the Bobcats. They have the month of February has been their month. That's for let's see. 23-9 in 4 seasons in the month of February. And that's with a pretty bad record in 2023. Because when they won the regular season Sunbelt Championship in 2021, 6-0 in February. 2022, 8-0 in February. 2023, down year, they were 3-6. They ended up doing some damage in the Sunbelt tournament after going 3-6 in February. They won 3 games that year in the tournament. And then 2024, they went 6-3, which that's not as good as 6-0 or 8-0, the undefeated mark, but that 6-3 was impressive to me because of how many injuries they had. Injuries and then other scenarios with players as far as like eligibility after transferring on Colton Benson to him. I'm talking about he came in kind of late with the team last year. So the month of February, it's been a big month for Terrence Johnson. It seems like from seeing them the last few games and then especially seeing them in person against Georgia State, we were just looking at those standings. Let's take a look where Georgia State is because, yeah, they're 3-3, 7-11 on the season, 3-3 in conference as well. So it's comparable. Bobcats have 3 games on them though. But it was good to see them handle a conference opponent, double-digit lead for most of that game. I mean, it was when they would let Georgia State get back into it, it would be, they were up by 20, now they're only up by 11. They're really starting to let the Panthers get their stride, and then they jump out by 15. Really handled that game. Bunch of guys at double digits in that one. Some names that we've been seeing that we're familiar with. I mentioned Colton Benson off the bench. He came in like halfway through the year last year, Air Force transfer. Initially had to sit out. He may have been the last player in the country that had to sit out due to transferring because then it was ruled that they're not going to do that anymore pretty soon after, and that's why he was able to play last year, but he's been a 3-point threat off the bench for the Bobcats. 9 points a game off the bench for him. He was struggling a little bit until this last game. Recognizable names though, Tyrell Morgan in his 4th year with the Bobcats. I honestly was surprised when the year started and he was on the roster. Didn't even realize it during the offseason. I was like, I thought for sure he was done. I was so disappointed last season when it was a few games into the year and he was out for seemingly the whole year. And I was like, well, that's it. His career's done. Because I remember he had played, I'm pretty sure it was JUCO before Texas State. But he returned for a 4th year, 14.4 points per game, 7 rebounds is what he's averaging. It's a real force in the paint, real aggressive player. Something that this team definitely needs. They have a few players, big players in the paint that are aggressive, but Morgan definitely sets the tone there. Looked like he got a little hurt at that last game I was at. I was there more in a fan capacity than official capacity covering the team. but he did seem like he got a little banged up. So hopefully, especially after last season dealing with injuries, he won't be out for an extended period of time. But we'll know. Saturday they'll be back at Strahan, rematch against Southern Miss after losing to him in overtime last week. Looking forward to that one. I'm going to go to that one. I'll be there. I'm going to start going to as many of them as I can. It should be all of them, for the rest of the year with football out of the way. Drew Drennan as well. Drew Drennan was another guy. Him and Morgan. I was like, Drew Drennan's back. On Drennan, I remember I clocked that one in the offseason when I saw something about the roster. It's right after they signed some players, and I saw Drew Drennan was still there, which was surprising because it seemed like he had a whole career before he got to Texas State. Now he's in his 4th year. Definitely needs some of that senior leadership at the guard position with some of these young guys like Caden Gums and I don't know how young Mark Drone is. I know it's his 1st year with the Bobcats. But it seems like Drennan also, he might be a little banged up as well. So both of those guys, the 2 6th, 7th year seniors for this team, might be a little banged up. Some new names, though. Tylen Pope, new player, Nevada transfer this year. Was really impressed with Tylen Pope. 15 points, 6 rebounds is what he's averaging on the year. Big guy, 6'7". It was just mentioning with Morgan. They start him with Morgan. This last game, they actually started 3 bigs as far as Tech State's concerned. 6'7", 6'8". That's I've only seen one 7-footer in my time covering Texas State, and that was like 2008, 2009. Ty Go, can remember he transferred in from TCU, and those are the Doug Davalos days. It was more of a run and gun style of offense, and he was a big 7-footer, more in the paint, traditional basketball, if you will. And so it was interesting watching him try to keep up the pace running up and down the court. But he was a pretty athletic guy for his size, massive guy. But that's the only 7-footer I've ever seen at Texas State. So when we talk bigs for the Bobcats for use to the NBA, it's a different deal for college ball, especially at this level, the G5 level. Yeah, but Tylen Pope, 15.6 rebounds at Nevada transfer. Mark Drone, I didn't put down what school he transferred in, but he's only played 3 games this year. And so like I said, I've been locked in the last few weeks, so I've seen those 3 games. All of a sudden, see number 4 out there, Mark Drone for the Bobcats. I'm like, okay, who's this player? Watched him put up 30 in the overtime loss against Southern Miss. Didn't have the best game the last game I was at in person, but even just watching him move around on defense and watching how he does his deal, he's a nice complementary shooting guard with Caden Gums in the backcourt, and then Colton Benson off the bench. I like what they're doing with the guards, and if Drew Drennan gets healthy, back in the mix. I know I didn't see a lot of Josh O'Garo, and I haven't seen a lot of him really this season, but I know he's a pretty good 3-point shooter. At least that's what he was advertised as when he came in. So they've got a pretty good guard rotation going right now. Caden Gums, I mentioned Caden Gums, right? The San Marcos high school product. His true freshman year last year is really coming on a lot quicker than I anticipated with this team. Like when he came in, you saw local guy. Okay, yeah, they'll probably give him some time. Maybe he'll even redshirt his true freshman year. He was baptism by fire, thrown into it last year. He's back in the mix this year, starting for this team. 12 points, 4.5 assists per game. Really great to see that from the true sophomore, the San Marcos native. Nate Deere was an interesting player. Okay, Nate Deere. Now he hasn't done anything too spectacular his first year with the Bobcats. It hasn't been anything crazy this year, but his performance on Wednesday was enough that it caught my eye. First off, when he came onto the court, he's 6'9", 240. So I would imagine he's the biggest player on that team. He looked like it when he came onto the court. Like I said, a big Aussie from Australia. He went 4 for 4 in that game. Didn't miss a bucket. Had a massive dunk, one of the biggest dunks I've seen at Strahan. But he also had 4 fouls. Didn't play a lot, and he had 4 for 4, but then 4 fouls. I liked the aggression. He needs to have some more control with the aggression, but that's an exciting player to get a look at. I meant to look up what year he even is, if they even have extended time with him or what that is. I'm going to look that up real fast. We're going to see. We're going to see exactly. I transferred him from Howard College. He's a junior. So they'll let him develop a little bit this year. Could work his way further into the rotation by next season. But all in all, I guess where I'm at with this team, I'm not as confident as those 2021, 2022 teams, but I am a lot more confident than I am the last two seasons, than what I've seen, especially at this point in the year going into February. They already have 10 wins before February already hits. We know they always have strong showings in February. I need to knock on some wood. Hopefully I'm not jinxing them, but we've seen it for 4 years, 3 of 4, I guess I should say. So if they can really get in there and get close, push for 20 wins, get right there, maybe land around 18, they can put themselves in really good position for this Sun Belt tournament coming up. And so another hot February, and they could have some buys. And I guess I started to talk about the buys in the tournament and what that means, rust versus rest, and where do you lie, and which do you believe in more? Do you think a team needs rest, or do you think they need to avoid rust by playing more? It seems like with this team they need to play more. So that's why I do like that fourth spot. But again, we talk about guys, Tyrell Morgan, Drew Drennan, some of these guys who they might be a little banged up, that extra time off gets them back. And so I'm torn with it, to be honest. But I like where they're at right now, 10-8, winning record, upward trend as far as where they were kind of in December to where they are at this point in January. So watch out for Texas State men's basketball. Women's basketball, it's been a little tougher for them. Lost 4 of their last 5. They're 8-8, 2-4 in the Sun Belt. I believe in Coach Z. I believe she'll get them turned around. And similar to Coach Johnson, she's had some better showings in the tournament than in regular season. So we'll see how that goes for them. More basketball updates. I want to get my guy Colton Parker. I don't know if you remember that from last season. I had him on to talk some basketball. Was it either last season or the season before? I know last season my son was born, so it's all kind of the spring of 2024 is a bit of a haze. I don't think we talked much basketball that around then. Let's switch gears. Let's talk football. New offensive coordinator for Texas State. As we all know, Mac Leftwich, he left. He went to Texas Tech. Took Lindsey Scott Jr. with him. He was on the assistant staff the last 2 seasons. Now he's off to Texas Tech. But new OC for the Bobcats, Landon Kopel. He was the assistant wide receiver coach last year. We saw him at the bowl game, talked about it in that episode after the bowl game, saw him standing next to G.J. Kinney on the sideline, relaying plays to the offense. So it kind of seemed like maybe he's out there calling plays or he's helping G.J. Kinney call the plays. So we saw a little bit of some signs in that bowl game. And shout out to the Wizards, Zachary Webb, great producer here at Win Now or Get Bent. He spotted that on the sideline. Reese and I were up there looking at it. It's funny, all season I was like, Reese, what you got to do, this is a great hack for when you're in the press box. You got to get binoculars. I have a great pair of binoculars. I use them all the time. Forget them for the bowl game. But guess what? The intern, he listened. He had his own binoculars. So we were both passing them back and forth. I didn't steal his, but I let him use them for like the whole game. But when we were trying to figure out who that was, we're looking through it. It's like pretty far away. Is that DePrado? Who is that? Wizard was able to clock that it was Landon Kopel. Let's talk about Landon Kopel. 9 seasons as the offense coordinator at Southern Arkansas. Pretty early in his career as well. Pretty sure he was a player at Tulsa. I don't know when his career ended, but that was 2010, 2011. He became the offensive coordinator at Southern Arkansas. During his tenure, the Mule Riders, that's their mascot, the Mule Riders. Gotta love that one. 9 seasons. This is a 9-season average. So these numbers are even more impressive when you take that into account. 35 points per game for his offenses, 460 yards per game. 292 of those 460 yards were passing. So he's likes to air it out for sure. 35 points per game for over 9 years is pretty remarkable, pretty fantastic stuff. While at Southern Arkansas, obviously it's at a much lower level than what we're talking about here. But still, regardless, pretty good stuff. He left for Hawaii for 2 years. It's where he met G.J. Kinney at Hawaii. Both of them were coaches there. G.J. was the OC. He was there from 2020 to 2021. Then he followed G.J. Kinney to Incarnate Word as the quality control assistant. In 2022, he worked directly under Mac Leftwich at Incarnate Word. GJ Kinney, the whole crew, they left in 2023 to come to Texas State. He followed. He's been here the entire time, was the assistant receivers coach this past year. I know the initial, I can't remember who broke the news, Matt Zenitz, I believe is who it was. It said he was the assistant quarterbacks coach. He was the assistant receivers coach. I believe the assistant quarterback coach was Lindsey Scott Jr., if I'm remembering his role correctly. So Landon Copel, they go internal for the offense coordinator. I kind of had a feeling when we saw some of these offensive players start to get signed and come in, especially when you saw 2 quarterbacks last weekend. That's when I was like, my radar started to make some noise. I was like, okay, something's happening here. How you getting these guys to commit and sign if they don't even know an OC is in the door? Although, in the transfer portal NIL age, that matters less and less if you have some NIL money. And who knows? Maybe that played a factor as well. All of a sudden, the Bobcats win a bowl game. G.J. Kinney is making public statements all about needing NIL. Came on this pod, episode 184, talking about that. 185 actually was the one that he came on. So it's who maybe they were able to have a little extra to go out there on the trail and find some of these guys. But not just the new OC, also a new wide receiver coach. Should also mention Chad Morris was the wide receiver coach this year. I speculated that he might get moved up to the OC. Didn't seem like that was the case. A rather cryptic goodbye announcement from Chad Morris at midnight Thursday, at midnight Friday morning, Thursday night, however you want to look at it. He put out a goodbye saying he wanted to step away from coaching. He wanted to watch his son Chandler more, so we've discussed. He's off playing P4 football. He wants to watch his final season of college ball. So understandable, but you also have to wonder if he had this job in mind to be the OC and it didn't materialize, and so he's out, which means the Bobcats were in need of a wide receiver coach, and they got one in the form of Randy Martinez. Randy Martinez might be a name you recognize, not quite an internal hire here for the Bobcats, but almost one. Randy Martinez, he was the director of recruiting in 2023 at Texas State. G.J. Kinney's first year here. Came to Texas State from Duncanville, where he was an assistant coach recruiting, and at Red Oak before that. Bobcats did get a commit from Arvis Battle from Red Oak. So I believe that was a Battle. Yeah, Arvis Battle from Red Oak. But Randy Martinez, he left after 2023 to go be the running back coach at SFA this past season. Now he's back in San Marcos as the wide receiver coach. Great recruiter. Some of these recruits will go over. Shamar Kirk is one from Miami, from the Hurricanes that just committed and signed this week. I'll have to imagine Randy Martinez, this has been in the works for a little bit. Maybe he played into that somewhat. Maybe I'm giving him credit for something that didn't actually happen, but it seems like a not coincidental. New receiver coach announced, pretty big receiver commit. The Bobcats also have a new special teams coordinator. This went down last week. Tanner Burns, Auburn special teams coordinator, coming from Auburn to Texas State. He left there just days after receiving an additional role at Auburn. He was the special teams coordinator, and then he was given an additional role to coach the Nickels, the DBs for Auburn, and now he's leaving to be the special team coordinator for Texas State. Helped Auburn rank 9th nationally in punt return last season. I saw some Auburn fans seem like they're like good riddance to Tanner Burns, they didn't really want him. He wasn't a really good coach for them, but he was given additional roles. 9th nationally in punt return, pretty good special teams outing for him. Pretty sure this was a coveted guy. Followed Hugh Freeze from Liberty to Auburn, so Hugh Freeze disciple. I think this is, losing a coach like Daniel DePrado, he went to New Mexico. I think one of the questions is asking about that, so we'll talk more about DePrado's departure here in a sec. But that's a big loss. Coach DePrado, I feel like I've talked about him quite a bit. That he's quite an inspirational figure when it comes to press conferences, when he's doing public speaking. But it's a decent enough replacement right here. Tanner Burns, It's kind of interesting to see a guy come from a SEC school to a Sun Belt school in the same position. So, I mean, it must have been something about Texas State that he saw that he liked. Maybe he thinks the Hugh Freeze deal isn't going to last much longer in Auburn. Go to a coach that is doing really well and isn't on the chopping block anytime soon, like G.J. Kinney. Might have been a good move for Burns, but I like it. I like all three. And I imagine the OC isn't the most tantalizing hire. Imagine some people wanted a big name. I know there were some people speculating a bunch of names around the area that the Bobcats could go get. But you have to take into account that this is G.J. Kinney's going into his fourth year as a coach. All 3 years, he's had a lot of success, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. And Landon Copel has been a part of that offense. And it's been successful. And when you're successful at a job, you deserve a promotion. So I'm with it. I think this is a good hire to move up Landon Copel and give him a chance. I know in the bowl game there was a lot of like screens and direct snaps and things like that. Maybe you want to see a little more inspired offense, but I can imagine with more time, seemed like he probably had to do that a little bit on the fly after Mac Leftwich left. He had to put together a game plan, but now he has a full off season to kind of dive into it. Maybe have some bumps the first year coming out, but the way I've said this before with G.J. Kinney and a lot of these younger coaches, that I'm okay with growing with these guys, letting them figure out not necessarily on the fly, but on the job, learn from experience some of these mistakes. I'm sure that G.J. Kinney has learned a lot from 2023 to 2024, and now from 2024 to 2025. Probably looks back at things he was like, man, I would have done that way different, or I'm really glad I did that. I'll keep doing that. That's just how it goes, especially when these guys, they're not coaches that are set in their ways quite yet. You can let them grow a little bit. It's, they can make mistakes here as opposed to growing somewhere else. Then you lose out on this great young talent. You gotta promote your guys when you do well, and they've done well. They've done well enough to warrant promotions. So I'm especially looking at his resume and everything that he's about. I understand why this decision was made, and I'm with it. I like it. I think it's a good one, and I like bringing back Rainy Martinez. He's a great recruiter. I love covering recruiting. That guy can recruit for sure. So at least got that going. We'll see how he does with the position group. He's got a lot of new receivers to mess with, not to mention Bo Sparks and Chris Don. Some of these young guys we haven't seen, like Kylan Evans, Jordan Martin, that he's getting to inherit. And now he's going to have 6 new ones coming in for this class. We'll use that as a segue to talk about some new players for the Bobcats. The last episode we did, it was 36 for the class of 2025. I'm going to go through this one quickly because we have questions, so many questions, and I'm a half hour into it already. But we have 6 new players, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new players that have signed on the dotted line or are now Bobcats since the last episode. Number 1, Giovanni McCoy, quarterback from Oregon State. Number 2, Holden Greener, quarterback from Auburn. 2 transfer quarterbacks. 2 P4. Oh no, wait, Oregon State. No, that's why it's P4 now. Used to be Power. In limbo. What are they called? Because G5 and then P4. What is Washington State and Oregon State? I'll tell you what they are. They're gonna be conference mates with the Bobcats, right? Pac-12. We'll get there. Kamari Terrell, defensive back, kick returner from Oregon. Real excited about this player. Real excited about Kamari Terrell. Shamar Kirk, wide receiver from Miami, brought him up earlier. Lysander Moello, offensive lineman from Syracuse. I wish I wrote down his size right here. I know he's a big guy. I wanna look that up real fast because he's a big guy. Syracuse. I hate when they delete the page for the player, and you get the 404. Try and pull up their page. Here we go. 6'6", 350 pounds. He's from America, Samoa. Big guy. Lysander Moello. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. And then Cole Nile, linebacker edge from Bryant College. This was the only one they added recently that wasn't an FBS signing, but he's a big guy. He was a true freshman this past year, 6'4", 250, listed at linebacker. Those are defensive end edge measurements if I've ever seen him. So can imagine he'll switch to there. But let's start at the top with Giovanni McCoy. Started at Idaho, was named FCS Freshman of the Year in 2022, was a Jerry Rice Award finalist in 2023. He transferred to Oregon State, didn't go very well. Numbers weren't fantastic. I didn't put the numbers here, but it was, pretty up and down year. Decided to hop in the portal and come to Texas State. Definitely a dual threat player, dual threat quarterback. Reminds me of not an exact template or an exact style wise, but Lindsey Scott, the way he was a dual threat, the way he fit in this offense, I see them looking at Giovanni McCoy in that same mold as somebody who can take on this offense that way. So very interesting. The other quarterback they got, Holden Greener from Auburn, he's more of a pocket guy. Didn't do a whole lot at Auburn, just 2 years, third string guy. Didn't do a ton. Had some a lot of offers coming out of high school. So he was a coveted player at one point. Kamari Terrell didn't have a ton of numbers at Oregon, but he's a real special player. 4-star recruit out of high school, had a ton of offers from a bunch of places coming out of high school. Played both ways in high school on offense, defense, and was returning kicks. Shamar Kirk, he's another player. He came in from Reedley College in California. Awesome numbers there. Was averaging like 19 yards a catch, bunch of touchdowns. While at Reedley College, he goes to Miami. I think he got in like 3 games, maybe just a handful of receptions over the last 2 years. So he's transferring, looking for an opportunity. Lysander at Moyello, we went over him, big guy, and same with Cole Neal. It's interesting that this happens after we talked about 36, and even that episode, I was like, maybe they need another offensive lineman, maybe another quarterback, but really this class feels like it was locked up, not even close. They went and added 6 more, and they've got other offers out there. They've got Craig Royal out of Butler, a DB. He's still committed. He has to wait until after the semester, has to finish the semester at Butler before he can sign. But that would be a 9th DB for this 2025 class. We're looking at 41 players right now. Just another huge class. Right now, they've added more than they've lost right now. Maybe there's some stragglers in the portal that I didn't mark down when I marked down 39. But right now, they have 41 bringing in, 39 out. Pretty impressive stuff. We're not even to the National Signing Day in February. Now, obviously, there might be some attrition here with this, where at the end of spring, you're going to see some transfers, specifically at the quarterback position. I know there's some questions about that going further down, so we'll get to that one. We'll get to those positions here in a sec. I want to do a full position-by-position breakdown, maybe even like a 2D prediction for the next episode, because I've already kind of been working on a list with guys in certain areas who I think is going to play, where I think it'll shake out. We're going to do that for the next episode. So look out for that one. We have too much info we're going over here. I can't believe almost 40 minutes haven't gotten to the questions, but we're going to get there. This is going to be a big episode. So y'all buckle in. Hopefully Webb's not busy tonight with the editing. But just real quick, this 2025 class, just position breakdown, 9 DBs, that's the biggest position, 8 defensive linemen, 6 receivers, 6 linebackers, 5 offensive linemen, 4 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, and 1 running back. Incredible stuff. Big class for these guys. I don't want to say stacked yet. I want to see them in the spring, see what it looks like everywhere. But they shored up quite a bit of depth. I saw there was like a Texas college's power ranking as far as teams, had the Bobcats kind of lower because of players they lost in the transfer portal, but I don't think they're taking into account the players they're bringing in. I mean, how do you bring in? You get 2 P4 quarterbacks, 3 G5 quarterbacks overall, or FBS quarterbacks, I should say, not G5. I just feel like this is a much better class than people realize. You get on 247 Sports, and it may not tell you all the players that they've signed. I know that's why I've been posting a notes app that I've been keeping track of this class because there isn't a comprehensive list anywhere where it's like, here's all the players for the Bobcats. So that's their class right now. Incredible stuff. We'll talk about quarterback competition and jump into more of these players, but we got to get to these questions. Let's do it. Let's get to these questions. Mailbag time. Mailbag. I didn't anticipate so much news before the mailbag, but we gotta recap it all. Let's get started. This one is from our guy Kevin Muth at KMuth74 on X, Twitter. My guy, what's up, Kevin? Question for the next mailbag. Probably won't be popular, but with all these P4 portal commits and NFL draft declarants, to what level did the 2024 team underperform from a win-loss perspective? And in retrospect, any thoughts on what the underlying reason or reasons were? Great question. Great question right off the bat from Kevin. I mean, you see when it was around, 20 players enter the transfer portal and nearly half of them go to P4s. I mean, we even saw Hameta Bebo. He's off to Arizona State. We saw Ben Bell going to Virginia Tech, Ishmati going to Arizona, Alex Harkey going to Oregon. That's a lot of players getting some P4 recognition. I mean, Hameto didn't even really play. He played a lot in 2023 before being all but relegated to the bench this past season. There was a reason why in fall camp I was so hyped up on this team. I was over here saying 10 wins. Other publications and everything were saying they're going to win the Sun Belt, or at least the Sun Belt West. That was the coaches poll. Sun Belt preseason coaches poll was saying they're going to win the Sun Belt West. Just looking at how stacked this team was, they had the number one offense in the Sun Belt in 2023, and then they added the Sun Belt Offensive Player of the Year in Jordan McLeod, and they retained Ishmati, retained Cole Wilson, some of these other players that have now left. Cole Wilson off to Baylor. There was a reason why they were so hyped up going into the season. There was a reason why they were favored in all 12 games, all 13 games going into the bowl game as well. I didn't even consider that. All 13 games, the Bobcats were favored. They won 8 of those, but 5 of those games they were favored and they lost. So that's been the issue. It's crazy to think that the Bobcats were favored against Arizona State. Is that right? I really got to go back and I feel like it was like 2.5 points as well in favor of the Bobcats. But it was a winning season. Ended it with 2 wins. Got the bowl win. So those are all nice. Those all feel good. It was still an underachievement in 2024. It wasn't what it was supposed to be. It wasn't what it could have been. It wasn't what it should have been. You look at like the Sam Houston game, Louisiana game, the Arizona State game we were just talking about. Some of these are ones that they could have won. They were on the cusp of winning. It's hard to think about what happened with Georgia State. That's one. But it's this we saw it. UTSA was one where it was an absolute blowout, and you could really see it with this team, with how talented they are. So yeah, I would say it was. I wouldn't say it's like a massive disappointment. It was still a winning season. It's still 8 wins. But after what should have been an upward trajectory, stayed stagnant. It's like the Bobcats were here. GJ Kinney comes in and they go here after 2023, and then they stabled off with those 8 wins. So it just needs to go up, continue to go up. I mean, because even if you look at it right now, if you were to look at Texas State's Twitter, their Twitter page, the football Twitter page, they have a pinned tweet. I want to make sure I'm right on this because I saw it and I was thinking about this the other day. This is a tweet. They have a pinned tweet. It's from August 30th, 2024, right before the season started, and it's a video with it just says the standard is rising. The standard is rising. The standard was risen from what it was, is rising. It should have gone up. It should have been more wins, and it wasn't. So you have to call it what it is. It was an underachievement. It wasn't a massive underachievement. I wouldn't say they like failed or anything, but yeah, no, I would agree. Especially when and it's a great barometer to look at it when you see these players off to the NFL, off to these bigger schools. It's it's definitely worth considering. Oh, second part of it. In retrospect, any thoughts on what the underlying reasons were? Um, maybe they were drinking a little bit too much of the Kool-Aid. Was a little bit of it, too much rat poison, maybe from myself and others included, hyping it up a little too much and believing that and underestimating their opponent. I know early on discipline was an issue. It kind of was throughout the season, but really at the beginning of the season, discipline was there. I think focusing on those aspects of the game are going to be crucial because when it is these close games, and it really matters when you get a 15-yard penalty for something stupid, hitting a player late or unsportsmanlike conduct or any of these type of deals, it adds up. I wouldn't say I think it's a multitude of reasons. I think those two would have to do a little bit of hubris, a little lack of discipline, things like that. And in that Louisiana game, I really think if Jordan McLeod plays that second half, that might have been a more competitive game. There would have been one there. But yeah, it's young coaches, and they're awesome recruiters, and man, they have a fun scheme when it's out there on both sides of the ball. On defense, they get after the quarterback, and on offense, they're trying to get after the end zone. But sometimes in those high risk, high reward schemes, there's a lot of punishment in those risks when they don't turn into rewards. So maybe a little bit more of a stable offense. I always call for throwing the ball to the tight end or even just having some plays where they line up under center. Everything is shotgun all the time. And it gets the ball. Yeah, sure. You're in the backfield a lot quicker, snapped right to them, but there are a lot of issues. We saw low snapping. If you're just taking the ball straight from the center, then you're not dealing with that as much. I like the new age look, the Madden look of the schemes and everything, but maybe a little more traditional ball peppered in there. Go get a fullback. Get fullback. Get some D linemen. Who's the new kid, the new guy who just said his name from Bryant College? Cole Nile, big guy. Let's put him at fullback out there. Hopefully that answered your question, Kevin. Appreciate you jumping in there. Sorry to abruptly end it. I gotta get to these questions. Sorry, this one's from my guy Jay Simons. My guy Jay, what's up, Jay? Met you at the bowl game. Coaching staff, who's staying, who's leaving, and rumors on new additions. We've already gone over it, so we're gonna pass through yours. But Jay, I appreciate you jumping in. It was great to meet you. But yeah, so Landon Copel at OC, Randy Martinez at receiver coach, and then Burns at special teams coordinator. This one is from Kenny's Burner. Wow, the Kenny's Burner, huh? It looks like it's his official burner as well. Just kidding, not really. Does Kenny still have the? It's Kenny's Burner asking a question about Kenny. Does Kenny still have the OC position vacant? Oh, it's another one. If so, no. Landon Copel. Boom, both of those. Put this one. I put out the mailbag request on Tuesday, and all this went down Friday morning. We're recording this on Friday, so I get where that came from. This one looks like, is it from Webb? This is Webb, yeah. What's up? The Wizard, Zachary Webb. On this next one you hear, getting a question in. Wow, okay. Call your shot, starting quarterback against Eastern Michigan. Wow, hashtag WNOGB. Way to go. Producer using the hashtag. I do appreciate that. Man, I think I should just go how we can even start in the spring, how I think it'll shake out. I really just looking at they're moving Copel up to offensive coordinator. It seems like that they're going to rinse and repeat with the same offense that they've had before, and they had a lot of success with it with Lindsey Scott, more a dual threat quarterback. Jordan McLeod, who he himself said, he was asked, "Are you a dual threat quarterback?" He said, "Yes, I am. Very matter of fact, dual threat. May not have demonstrated as much at Texas State, but I'd consider him a dual threat as well." They had a lot of success with those two quarterbacks, and it seems that Giovanni McCoy fits that mold more than the other transfers that came in. Now, I feel like it's going to be a straight competition between McCoy and Jackson. I think those are going to be your front runners even in the spring. So the way I feel like it's going to shake out, there's too many in the quarterback room. There's 6 quarterbacks right now. McCoy, Brad Jackson, Nate Yarnell, Grenier, Gavin Parkhurst, he's the freshman, and then Lincoln Filial, scout team quarterback, really not really in the running. It's those 5. Can imagine of those 5, okay, Gavin Parkhurst, the All Saints Episcopal freshman, true freshman coming in. Imagine he's going to get a red shirt. So now we're looking at 4 between Jackson, McCoy, Grenier, and Yarnell. Uh, Looking at it, like I said, I think McCoy and Jackson, they're going to be the front runners. Grenier, you look at him being third string at Auburn. He's still kind of a younger guy. I don't think he's going to be completely salty if he ends the spring and he's not the starter. I think he's willing to maybe give it some time. But you look at a player like Nate Yarnell, he's trying to start this year, and it's his last year, I'm pretty sure, of college ball. He's a really good player. So he's my early dark horse candidate to transfer out. I don't want him to, especially he's an Austin kid. He's a guy I was pretty excited when he got brought in. I feel like he has a lot of talent as well. And if spring comes around, I could be completely wrong, and he's out playing everybody, and he's the front runner. So this is speculation by me, but that's how I'm anticipating it to shake out, where it's McCoy and Jackson as the front runners, Holden as the third stringer, Parkhurst getting that red shirt, and then Yarnell and trying to find somewhere to play. That's where I'm thinking. So if that's as far as Eastern Michigan, when it comes around, man, at that one, I gotta see McCoy, but he's calling me out though. I gotta do it. It's the Wizard. I gotta do it. I'm gonna call my shot, and I'm gonna say McCoy. I'm going to say McCoy starts, but I want it to be known that I feel like Jackson is right there. And I feel like just because McCoy starts Eastern Michigan doesn't mean we don't even see Jackson that game, and it doesn't mean Jackson doesn't start later in the year. I think a lot of Brad Jackson. I know these coaches think a lot of Brad Jackson, but if I've got to really guess right now in January, I'm going to say McCoy is the starter against Eastern Michigan. But that's TBD. Who knows? It's going to be a fun spring. Lots to talk about. Lots to go over. I mean, we're in January, and I'm about to put on probably the longest episode of, I was about to say the year, but this would be the 3rd pod of the year. Longest episode in a while for us here. Shout out to the Wizard. Great question. Good one. Way to put me on the spot. I like getting put on the spot. Okay, here we go. My guy, Robert Garcia. What's up, Robert? Been running into him a lot recently. Just saw him at the basketball game. Working hard. Texas State concessions. All right, here we go. Basketball and diamond sports questions. What are your thoughts on women's basketball and men's basketball? Kind of went over that at the beginning. Hopefully that one sustained this part of the question. If they both underperform, are both coaches gone? Wow. See, that's the part that we didn't really go over. I don't think, I honestly don't think either one are. I think that consistency is valued at those positions. It's not really you have to really get a ton of wins every single year for it to be considered successful. I think there's something to be said about consistency, especially looking at TJ and where the team is now for the men's team, 10-8 right now. If they stay on this trajectory, no way. I think he comes back. Coach Z, they're struggling right now. I think maybe if they continue to struggle at this pace, yeah, but I think both will be back. I really do. I hope so. I like both. Maybe that might be personal bias, though. I just personally like both of them, but I also like the programs that they run as well, not just the people they are. The second part to Robert's question: how do you think softball will fare this season with losing the best pitcher? Yeah, that's and you kind of saw with Randy Rupp when she left. It was a little bit of a drop off, but not much because it's Ricky Woodard, and man, they reload and they go get it. And I have a lot of faith in Texas State's softball program. They're right up there with it's like volleyball. The programs I have the most faith in at Texas State: volleyball, softball, right there, and they're like right next to each other. I think volleyball might have a little more lead of softball than I did on that little demonstration, but volleyball, softball. That's where I'm at with confidence there. I'm confident in Coach Woodard and her ability to rinse and repeat with these rosters. What's the transfer portal like in softball? Oh, you know what? I know what it's like. The Texas Tech paid a girl $1 million. I forgot about that. That was this before this offseason. And will baseball have a bounce back year? Great question. Yes, they will. I'll say this: I'm not the world's preeminent baseball expert, but I've talked to plenty of others, specifically Ty Harrington. I had a great conversation with him at the bowl game. He was hanging out, asked him about baseball and what his thoughts were. And man, he was beaming. He was real excited talking about this season, and he said that exact thing: bounce back. He felt like it was going to be a really good year for this team. I know a big seam head, the Wizard, Zachary Webb, our great producer here. He's a big seam head himself. He loves his Houston Astros. Hopefully, that's not divisive to any of you out there. He's real excited. He mentioned, I wish I remembered the player's name that he told me, but he's saying they've got a guy in their bullpen throwing 99. I don't know if I've ever seen anything, that type of heat here in San Marcos, but that's pretty exciting. So, yeah, baseball bounce back. Real excited about baseball. We're gonna have some great coverage coming up for baseball. I'll leave it at that. But thanks, Robert. Appreciate you jumping in with the questions. Texas State fan at TXT_fan. He asked about the OC play caller. We went over that one. He's got another one, though. Any idea on what transfers and freshmen are on campus for spring ball? I know GJ Kinney has gotten creative in the past with the 8-week deadline for enrollment or something like that. Yes. I can't say for any of the ones that we saw sign on December 18 will definitely be here. Any of the 4-year transfers that we just saw signed, I would imagine they would be here. I think any of the players that have signed and they've announced have a really good chance of being here unless they're JUCO and they have to finish the semester. But I know, like with Craig Royal, I mentioned him earlier, the Butler corner, he's committed to Texas State. He's not officially signed because he has to wait till the end of the semester before he can enroll. So I imagine these other JUCO guys that they've announced, especially Alan Grimmy and Cam Schultz, the two guys out of Jones College, they announced them in December, early December. That's more than enough time for them to be enrolled and get here. So I imagine these other JUCO players that they have announced, Devarick Woods. I'm trying to think of. I know there's another corner that they've also recently announced that. I imagine if they announce them, it seems like that they can come on in. I know there's a couple high school guys as well. Burkhalter, TJ Burkhalter, I remember him. He's the linebacker edge coming in. But yeah, not a ton of the high school. I know it was just a couple of them. Maybe a receiver. I think Skylar Lewis is one of the receivers as well. But I don't have a good list of that. Closer to spring, we'll get a good roster and we'll get to know some more of these guys that are coming in. I know you had a third one too. Oh yeah, any knowledgeable speculation about realignment? There's a lot of realignment questions. Let's see if any of these are similar. Any knowledgeable speculation about realignment? That's from our guy, TXST fan. This one's from Fanny Pack at PHANY_pack. Fanny Pack. What's up, my guy? If we were to get an invite to the pack, how much will travel costs increase relative to our Sunbelt travel costs in all sports? Do you think the speculative pack media payout will successfully combat some of this increase? Great question, Fanny. It was written really well. I didn't read it well, but it was written really well. I know, let's see. What about the pack from my guy, Rick Reyna at 209 SOCO? What's up? Pretty sure I ran into you as well. Let's see any other ones about that. Okay, so those are all our pack questions. I'm kind of lumping them all into one. Any knowledgeable speculation about realignment? Yeah, the knowledgeable speculation that I have mainly came from the bowl game, and it comes from whenever I'm around at these events or anything, where it's especially what I heard. Even this one is before the bowl game, where the deal is it hasn't been announced and it's not official. It's not anything like that with Bobcats in the Pac-12. But the people I've talked to are extremely confident that it's already been decided unofficially on the back end, and they just have to wait to announce it. There's some things that they have to wait on some of these other schools. But it seems like this is very much a reality for Texas State going to the Pac-12. I don't want this is not me breaking news saying it's happening. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that the little birds are chirping. That's for sure. They're not. It's nothing concrete, but there is a lot of noise, and it's not just not just Twitter noise. I know we see it, and a lot of people are like, okay, is this just? It seems like there's a little bit of content farming coming from some of these West Coast accounts that are like Texas State to the Pac-12. And they know all of you are going to retweet it and like it, and they're going to get some money from old Elon Musk for people clicking on it and interacting with their posts. People get paid from that. So there might be a little bit of that trying to get you going where they're posting every day, because I don't think it's going to be announced anytime before February. I don't. But I do. I'm pretty confident that this is going to happen just based on people I've talked to, but I know nothing concrete. That is all I know. I've tried to be very careful about what I post or say about anything, because I really, really, this is realignment and all that's a much different animal than what I usually cover. Mine is, I'm really good at personnel, like players, coaches, who's coming in, what's going on with day-to-day stuff. This one is it's a big animal, and there's a lot of things that have to be decided that are beyond even my sources. But great stuff. Texas State fan. This one from Fanny Pack. He was asking about travel costs and how much is that going to increase? It seems like a lot. And where I get that from is seeing the figures from USC and UCLA. They switch conferences out of the Pac-12, and their travel costs have been exuberant, real expensive, a massive increase for them, and they're a pretty big school. Although I think some of those California schools are in debt, if I have that right. So it was probably a lot harder for them as opposed to some of these bigger schools like Oregon, who made the same move. But it was a lot more expensive, a lot pricier than they even anticipated before it. Like, that reporting is starting to come out real recently. So it is going to be more expensive. Now, the second part of the question from Fanny is about will the TV money offset that? Like, when they move from the Sun Belt to the Pac-12, will they make enough money to offset those travel costs? Probably not fully, but it'll help for sure. And the cost of moving to this conference would be worth that price. It's going to be expensive. If they do go to the Pac-12 and you're having to go to the West Coast all the time, that's going to be pricey. And when we're talking Pac-12 money, what that's as we say Pac-12, we'll just call it Pac. We're talking Pac money, and what that's looking like. It's speculated anywhere from $8 million a year to $15 million a year. Imagine it lands somewhere in between that 10, 11, $12 million range per year. Now that's nowhere near what SEC schools are getting, 50 million and up from these P4 schools, but it's a lot more than Texas State's getting now, which is just under 2 million a year being in the Sun Belt. So unless the travel costs are $5 to $8 million more, then this move is worth it. It is going to be expensive, and so all of that new TV money, you're getting a brand new big chunk of it, but then you also got to take an even bigger chunk than what you were before and spend it on travel costs. So there is that to take into account, but it seems by all measurements it's worth it. That's a worthy exchange to move into this conference. Seems there's a lot of confidence in the TV deal is a little more. It's not the most lucrative, it's not on P4, but it's a lot better than some of these other G5s. And then Raina, what about the Pac? Yeah, that was it. That was it for the Pac-12 talk. So there you go. Some good Pac-12 talk for you. Let's see. My guy, Mason Flores, Big Mace 75. What's up, Mason? Hope you're well, my guy. Oh, this one's Pac-12 as well. Whoops, I just glossed over it. I still see tweets about the Pac-12. Seems like a lateral move, maybe even a drop, in my opinion, from the Fun Belt. Is there any news on a Pac-12 TV deal? Is it significantly higher than the Sun Belt? Yeah, I guess we did. We kind of already answered that one. It's speculation right now. It's not any of those figures, the 8 to 15 million. That's speculation. It isn't anything concrete. But it is more than the Sun Belt, and that's the draw. Obviously the regionality of the Sun Belt is a little bit better as far as travel and rivalries and all that good stuff. But really, it's the money, and it will be significantly more. As far as this level, that's a significant increase. I mean, 10 million for a P4, probably not much to. You're probably not trying to move for that. But when you're trying to also position yourself for, we don't know. We're going to talk about rev sharing here in a bit. Y'all buckle up because I have a lot on rev share. We're not close to being done, and we have a lot to go over with rev sharing because I know there's questions on that. But who knows if you need to position yourself to get into this, if there is a power conference only league, and if you want to get in a conference that might position itself to be considered a power, this is it. This is that move. It might be a Hail Mary, a last ditch effort, but it's worth it, or else you're gonna get left behind eventually when these players, their employees, and everyone's having to cut bigger checks and everything. They're gonna leave some of the little guys to the side. So I think in that aspect, it's not a lateral move. Is it lateral competitively? Yeah, probably right now it might be lateral competitively compared to the Sun Belt, but I don't think it'll be lateral in the long run. I think this is a play to position yourself for unknowns that are going to pop up here very, very soon. So appreciate that one, Mason. It was a worthy add to the Pac-12 convo. It's good to hear that opinion because I hear that a lot of people are excited about Pac-12. I'm excited. They've seen me. I've tweeted about it. Got my bags packed and all that. But I know some people are very unsure out there if this is a good move. This one's from Bobcat Superfan at Wide Shut Stunt. I feel like I messed it up last time I read that. What's up, my guy? Hope you're well. Why do I love Kef Tardello? Because he started covering Texas 8 years ago and few others did. Shout out to you, Kef. You answered your own question. You should have let me guess why you love Kef Tardello. I would have said the hair, probably the hair. But no, I appreciate that, man. I really do. It's pretty cool to see Texas State where it is, where it should be, and where it could be, even going further, even higher than it is right now. Didn't seem like it would ever get to this place, but deep down, we all knew it should be there and it could be there. And if somebody came in and did something about it, it will be there and it is there. So I'm very proud, Bobcat. Always am, but it really, driving to the game, to the game at Strahan on Wednesday, drove by UFCU Stadium. It's just the twilight of the evening. The sun had just dropped. So, it was looking beautiful. It was nice to go over that Ocarina Bridge and drive right next to it and just feel good about how the season ended, and just feel good about where it's going next year. It's nice. Proud Bobcat. Very proud Bobcat. Thanks for that. You're the nice compliment. All right. Where were we? Here we go. My guy, Baseball Nut. Hey, Baseball Nut, at Baseball Nut 46. You might have been my wife's favorite person she met the whole bowl game. She had a blast listening to you talk at the Weston lobby. What positions do you think we need to still address through the portal at this point? Any news on any more high school recruits? Yeah, I'm glad the high school recruiting. I'll jump with the second part first. Kevon Carter, Wagner High School linebacker. He got an offer from North Carolina State. He took it. He's off North Carolina State, decided to go P4. So they missed out on that linebacker, but they've got 6 other linebackers. They're bringing in 2 high schoolers, 4 transfers at linebacker. So they're pretty set at that linebacker spot. But as of right now, they may not add any more high school guys. Seems like it's very transfer focused at this point. And they went and got 16 of them, 16 high school players. It's a good amount, especially in the transfer portal era. Shoot, that was more than some coaches before the transfer portal era here. So good job by GJ Kinney and co. But no, I don't think they're pursuing any other 2025 high school recruits because even the offers going out are all 2026 guys. Even saw a 2027 guy get an offer. Positions they still need to address. 41 running back. That's actually one I forgot. I was looking at this the other day. Still have Lincoln Perry, still have Torrance Burgess. You've got Greg Burrell coming in from UNLV. You got Cole Pryor, who they signed from Reagan High School, but not much besides them. And I know they like to have 5 to 7. You definitely want some more guys in the depth at running back. So I could imagine they're still looking there for some of those players. Oh gosh, though it's hard to even they're looking pretty good as of right now. I would really say like running back would be the real one. Right? I think they need to add someone, but I wouldn't even say need. I say need, but I don't think they need to do that. Yeah, good one, baseball nut. Hope you're well. I know you're excited for baseball. Is it a bounce back year for them? I think I was probably you. I was talking about some baseball with too at the game. Oh, this one's from Donnie Coriel, fake Don Coriel at DONN Coriel. Don't be fooled by that second in out there. And Don Coriel. I like the parody accounts. I've said it before. I can't follow you guys because I'll get tricked eventually. But come on, there you go. All right. Following this question from September. Oh yeah, okay. Do I go for NWO Hollywood or NWO Wolfpack? My guy had a question back in September. We'll refresh your memory. And he says it's an off week, so here's an off topic: WCW or WWF. Who was your favorite wrestler and why was it Sting? That was his question back in September. I answered WCW. I was a WCW guy. It was WWF when I was a kid, and I took my dad to an event, and it was a pretty risque event, so I was relegated to WCW. What not the more family friendly, if there is a family friendly wrestling federation. But yeah, WCW, that was my go-to. And NWO, that was definitely my go-to. Me and my brother specifically, we loved NWO. And it's a clear cut between NWO Hollywood and NWO Wolfpack because it's NWO Wolfpack all the way. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, you can see me holding them up. But I'm not going to do it too long because I feel like that's what Arkansas State does too. They used to do that for the NWO Wolfpack. The NWO if you don't know, was a faction in WCW. Was it mid to late 90s, just for a few years, where a bunch of wrestlers, obviously it's for show, but they acted like they were rebelling against WCW and they started their own wrestling group called NWO, New World Order. And then that New World Order group split into 2 other groups, NWO Hollywood, NWO Wolfpack. NWO Hollywood, that was like Hulk Hogan and just a lot of the old guys. NWO Wolfpack was the cool guys. We had Sting. You mentioned Sting earlier. Kevin Nash, big sexy Kevin Nash, 7-footer with long hair. He's kind of like the leader of it all. Conan, remember I like Conan? I liked him a lot. He had the lowrider and everything. I was very much Wolfpack. Those are my guys. But even I was more. I guess Goldberg kind of came along and ruined the NWO thing. But that Goldberg was more so my guy. Diamond Dallas Page, more so outside of the NWO, who I rooted for. Man, that was a lot of wrestling talk. That just brought back some memories because I haven't genuinely watched wrestling since I was 13. But I'm an appreciator. That's for sure. Just more so from a distance. I could have sworn it was real for a while. There was a time it was Santa Claus and wrestling. I'd have bet my entire worth that those 2 things were real. Ended up not being true. But good stuff, Donnie. Appreciate you, Donnie Coriel. Two ends. Watch out for it. Don't get fooled. Here we go. Buckle up, everybody. Can you talk about rev share? Sounds like they are ready for it, but is it the full 20 million? Okay. Now, I feel like I talked a little bit about this in October when the settlement deal went down. I made sure to I did a lot of prep on this when I saw rev share and was like, you know what, we kind of need to do a full gloss over with rev share and what all is happening. So in October, a California judge granted preliminary approval to the NCAA and power conferences. They approved the settlement that they agreed to in May of 2024, and it was approved at least preliminarily approved. Uh, and it paved the way for revenue sharing for athletes, basically. It's like an antitrust case. It's a settlement for this antitrust case. Now, the settlement that was preliminary approved, not officially approved, that wouldn't be until April. There's another hearing, but it has been approved, which means it's likely to get approved in April as well. But it's a two-pronged settlement. The first part of it is it requires schools to pay a whopping $2.8 billion to former athletes for damages of lost name, image, and likeness. So it's former athletes getting paid. I think the window is from 2017 to like 2020, 2021. Athletes in that window can be a part of a class action lawsuit and go back and get seemingly thousands of dollars for these athletes. So if you're a former athlete listening to this, you may want to talk to a lawyer to figure out if you have some money out there. The other part of this, and I will say that $2.8 billion payment that will affect the bigger schools more so than Texas State. You'll see. I should put that with a lot of this. A lot of this, it affects all the schools, all levels, no doubt about it. But it is hitting the big dogs a little heavier, and we'll break all that down. The second part of that settlement that was approved, preliminary but not officially, it permits, doesn't require, it permits that schools share millions with athletes at an annual cap at around $20.5 million from TV revenue sharing. It also permits, doesn't require, but permits all athletes on scholarship up to 105 per team. Now, this part, the $20.5 million, that's the cap for TV money. This is, again, this does not require that they share revenue, but it does permit schools to share revenue with their players. Annually, $20.5 million. Now, competitively, let's say, as soon as Alabama says, well, we're going to rev share, and then all the other, then Georgia's, we're going to rev share, and Clemson, we're going to rev share, and then on and on and on. It's a competitive thing. So they're all going to do it. The big schools, they're all going to do it. Doesn't necessarily mean the smaller schools will, and we'll get to that. And by smaller, I do mean Texas State. Sorry if the smaller tag offends you. But the settlement does not prevent athletes from eventually being deemed employees, and this whole thing still may need tweaking from Congress, so it's not all done. Again, no school is required to share revenue and can opt out. G5 schools like Texas State will likely share very little, if any, while FCS schools will likely opt out altogether. This is going to be a P4 arms race. And this is going to, at least for a little while, until who knows if they're eventually deemed employees, and then it turns out this TV rev share deal isn't enough. They got to be employees with benefits and everything that goes into being an employee. But in the meantime, if it is, you come to April 7th and they decide, yep, go ahead, this has been approved. Then on July 1st, all of this is a reality, this rev sharing thing. And you're going to see these power conferences. We were just talking about how much they make on these TV deals. Let's talk about like the SEC. They're making $51.3 million on TV revenue this year. Sunbelt, under $2 million. So right off the bat, don't have $20 million annually to spend on it. So not likely the Bobcats are going to be participating in the rev share, at least at this time. Now, if they were to move to a Pac-12, maybe they could squeeze out some more of that rev share that they have in the Pac-12, especially if other Pac teams are doing it and they need to remain competitive within their own conference. You may see them shell out some of this money, but there's a good chance that they don't participate in the rev sharing. They just rely on NIL and scholarships and things like that until other things are decided. But really, this settlement, it targets for lack of a better phrasing, the revenue producing programs. Because it is the truth that a lot of G5 teams, there's even some P4 teams, they operate at a loss. They even with TV deals and everything, they spend more money than they make. I mean, Texas State is more student fees and tax state tax help to supplement more so than the TV deal, at least at this time with the Sun Belt and everything. So that's the situation with rev sharing. I don't know firsthand exactly what Texas State is going to plan to do once April hits, once July 1st specifically hits, and this is a reality. What they are going to do then, if they are going to if they are going to try to fulfill 105 scholarships, I wouldn't imagine so, because that's way more. We're talking 20. The former minimum or maximum was 85 scholarships. Now you add 20 more scholarships, 20 more tuitions that you're paying for. That's a lot more money. So who knows how much Texas State and schools at the G5 level even participate in this revenue sharing situation. Now, another caveat, just yesterday on Thursday, this is Friday, we're talking about all this. It's all subject to change, but I think it's going to be at least good while you listen to this over the next few days. Just yesterday, though, on Thursday, uh, I believe it was a document, a decree was put out. I didn't put that part in my notes, but revenue sharing must be distributed proportionately between women and men's sports in accordance to Title IX. This disrupts many power conferences' plans to use 80 to 85% of their rev share on football and men's basketball. There's speculated that thousands of players transfers going to these bigger schools have already signed agreements NIL agreements that anticipated, or I'm sorry, not NIL agreements. They have signed 2 schools anticipating that this deal will go through and they will get a portion of their revenue. I think of someone like Alex Harkey and some of the rumors about what I heard he got paid. I don't even know. I probably shouldn't even put it on the pod, but it's a lot of money. It's close. It's a lot more than I anticipated for some of these athletes. But I would imagine that there were promises from Oregon's rev share. If you come here, you're going to get a good chunk of this revenue share. But now they won't, at least for now, they won't be able to do that because they have to distribute it equally. You can't give 80 to 85% to just 2 sports when you have a bunch of others. You have to distribute that all equally. So that is it's not a regulation, it's a guidance. That's another thing that I should put in there. It's not a full regulation. So a lot of this is being decided, but that does throw another wrinkle into it where there's a lot of these big schools, Texas, right up the street and right up 35 here from San Marcos. They're licking their chops thinking about, all right, rev share, let's go. We can 20 million a year, sure. But that's nothing when we're making 51.3 just for showing up. We take 20 million of that, that's not even half of our rev share. Texas State, they're going bankrupt trying to spend $20 million in rev share, even when they're getting TV money. So it's an interesting deal. You're going to see a lot more rev sharing at the upper levels. You might see a little bit of it at the lower levels, but it is going to be fascinating to watch this go through. And it does seem like once April 7th hits, they're going to put the rubber stamp on it. It's going to go through in July 1. This is going to be a reality. So there you go, rev share. And let me see if I make sure I answered the question. I kind of just wanted to set the table and explain a lot of that. Hopefully that was pretty clear. I know it's kind of a confusing topic. Sounds like they're ready for it, but is the full 20 million? I wouldn't anticipate it being the full 20 million. If they are anticipating that they're going to be able to share some revenue, I don't imagine it would be anywhere close to 20 million. If it is, then hey man, money's coming from somewhere else that I didn't realize. Because this isn't NILs. This doesn't mean NILs go away. This is rev sharing and NILs are still doing their thing. So hopefully I explained that to you, Drewski. Appreciate you. At Mountain Drew 88 if you want to go follow him on X. This is from our guy Colton Etheridge at Colton Etheridge 2. What's up, Colton? Hope you're well. What changes do you believe are needed to bring this team to their full potential? A little vague, but I get where you're going. Right off the bat, I got to say discipline. I said it earlier when talking about this team. I even think about it in the bowl game. Yes, they won that game. Some great moments. But then you think about the celebrations after that last touchdown, got flagged. The celebration after the interception got flagged. And it's just these things that it's just one play, it doesn't matter. But then you add them all up throughout the season. You add them up in these close games specifically, and it matters. And I really, when I think about when I was asked the question, was 2024 a letdown? When I think what was the factor to it being a letdown, I think discipline coming across the board. They definitely have the talent. I really like the scheme. I just think there was some discipline issues, and it's not a mark on anybody's character or how they're coaching these guys. It's just got to tighten it up out there. I mean, they work so hard that when you see a guy celebrate after a sack or a big play or what have you, you get it. They work so hard and they finally get this moment where they succeed. You want them to be able to enjoy it, but you also got to be smart about it. And if you save the celebration after the sack, you can have an even bigger celebration after the game when you win. So discipline, I really do. I know it's the guy with the long hair. He's over here talking about discipline. Like, what do I know? But I do. I pride myself on discipline in your personal life and your work life and everything. And I think that's something that um, this I hope this team takes a little more importantly. I don't know if that's the difference between 8 and 10 wins, but it might be. Appreciate that, Colton. That was a good question. Maybe we stop and pause for a sec. I had to think about that one. Oh, here we go. We got another parody account. We got parody GJ Kinney. At least they have parody right there on the name. Parody GJ Kinney. That's appreciated. Which collective is the best and why? Oh, wow. Oh. A little bit of a loaded question. The best. Well, let's break them down because there's two of them. There's Maroon and Golden Collective, and then there's Victory Star Collective. There's so much unknown with these collectives and how they operate and where the money's going and all of these things. I will say that Maroon and Golden is filled with people that I trust vehemently. I think of like Thad, Big Thad. We all know Big Thad. Justin over at maroonandgolden.com. Gil Hodges, First Lockhart National Bank, very much involved. I might be on the board, I believe, something like that at Maroon and Golden. So I know when talking to those guys, my biggest reservation about even fully supporting one or going behind one or even accepting sponsorship for one from either of them for the podcast is there's a lot of unknown about will this even be around in a couple years? What are they doing inside their business to help athletes? Are these athletes getting their fair share? You see situations like Matt Sluke at UNLV. Think about what you will about him quitting on the team. Shouldn't have done that, but he was promised $100,000 that never came. Things like that. I know myself. I don't want to tie my name to something, and it turns out they do some shisty business practices. But I know from talking from everybody at Maroon and Golden, Thad and all these guys, this is a passion project to them. This isn't them. They're not trying to get in there and make a bunch of money off these student athletes. They're really trying to elevate Texas State and bring in some terrific athletes. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know exactly how the money works. From what I've heard, is their cut is minimal, if anything at all, from what they take from that operation. So I do appreciate that. I know that they were able to secure deals with players over this last season, and they've done some really great things. So that's the one that and this is personal. This isn't a paid endorsement or anything from Maroon and Golden, but that's the one that I feel the most comfortable with. It's hard for me to get fully comfortable with NIL just because it is a lot of who knows what you can do with there's seen shady business practices. We've seen predatory business practices pop up, especially if they're targeting college athletes. And I don't want to promote a collective that ends up doing that. And I know Maroon and Golden, the people that are involved with that's not something they're trying to do. It's not what they're about. They're literally just trying to elevate Texas State. So I can confidently say that about Maroon and Golden. And Victory Star NIL, I've had Janelle Fitzgerald on the pod, if any of you remember that, before the 2023 season, to talk all about Victory Star NIL. I haven't heard a whole lot from them. I haven't seen a lot more from Maroon and Golden. I've even heard things that Victory Star NIL might be going away here pretty soon in the spring. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not true. So this isn't me saying Maroon and Golden. I've heard good things. It's not saying I've heard bad things about Victory Star. I haven't heard bad things about either one. But I think if it seems the one that is making moves and doing a lot of good things, it's the Maroon and Golden Collective. That's the one that I have a lot of trust in them and that and everything that they're doing over there. I think they're doing great stuff, and I think they're doing it from a very genuine place. They want to help Texas State. They want to, and the way you tell everyone knows our name, right? That's what we like to say around here. It's in the school song. The way it's the Front Porch University. We've beaten that horse plenty already, but and the way you get people to see that front porch is by going and getting some of these terrific athletes, and in this day and age, that takes NIL. It is very, very important. I can't say for certain that all those commits we talked about earlier, that NIL played a factor in that. I don't know, but it is kind of interesting that all of a sudden some pretty good recruits came walking in the door, after that bowl game, after it seemed like they signed up a lot of really good players. Yeah, that's where I would say Maroon and Golden Collective. It's nothing against Victory Star or anything, and I'm pretty sure it's just those two. I haven't heard of another one. But I know I have uh, asked a lot of questions about it, and it's not. There's a reason why I'm not promoting one specifically all the time or anything like that. Even though I do think NIL is important, and I understand why people give to it. It is that's how you're going to compete. That's what you have to do right now, and it is very important. But it's everything that I've heard about Maroon and Golden has been high remarks. Been a lot of respect. I haven't heard any bad things from like players that deal with them or anything. If the only story we were the Ben Bell was a Maroon and Golden Collective. He got money from them, so I mean that was part of the when he only played 4 games. That was a little disheartening because he took NIL money. And it's also something I wouldn't hold against Maroon and Golden because hey, how do you? I mean, shoot, you're trying to pay a player the caliber of Ben Bell. Yeah, you write him a check to get him in there. Who knows what was really in his heart and what really happened? You can't measure a man's heart or his intentions of what was going on this season. But I don't fault them for paying him and trying to bring him in there. And I still trust who they evaluate and decide to make a deal with in the future. I think they have a good eye for it. I don't pin that whole saga with Ben Bell on them at all. But yeah, Maroon and Gold Collective, go join up, be a member. I'd be a member too, but as someone who covers a team, there's like an ethical thing. I can't donate to the school like that. I can donate marketing and coverage and everything like that. And if there's a time I'm not covering the school, I will donate. But I can't right now. I can't have that kind of tie and still objectively cover the team from a journalistic standpoint. But I know they have really good deals for joining them. It's not like you have to pay thousands of dollars. You can get in there pretty good, and you're supporting them. But good stuff. Appreciate it. That was a good question. Parody GJ Kinney asking about NIL. Of course, the parody GJ Kinney is bringing up NIL, just like the real GJ Kinney. This one is from One Pack at One Pack Cards. Man, I got a new phone, a new iPhone, and I'm gonna sound very old man right now. I hate the way they do their photo albums now. I'm in here I took screenshots of all your questions, and it's just like it's beating me in the fight right now. There we go. At One Pack Cards, what's up? What's up, my guy? What high school signings do you think can make an impact or see the field next season? And also, what transfers do you see making big impacts next season? Cordarian Powell, right off the bat. That's my favorite of the high school signees. He's the corner from Royce City, DB, I should say. I'm not sure if he's going to be corner or safety, nickel. Really like him, and I think that with how much it's very fluid at the defensive backs position. They're bringing in 9 new guys, so there's A lot of competition going on at a lot of places. They brought in some really good players. Kamari Terrell from Oregon is one that really comes to mind. So there is a lot of competition there, but I think he's gonna get in there really quick. He's a terrific athlete, terrific player. Arvis Battle as well, the tight end from Red Oak. I don't know if he'll be a starter, especially with Ty Stammy coming in from Louisiana. I think he's going to be the starter. And you got some other guys coming back as well. Titus Lyons coming back. He's played a lot of ball here. I think he's coming back. I think I need to double check with Titus Lyons. But even with that, even if he's not a starter, I could see Arvis Battle really getting in there and getting in the rotation early, even if it's just a 4-game situation and they decide to redshirt him. I think he's gonna hit his 4-game allotment his true freshman year. Just based on GJ Kinney's reaction on after they announced him on signing day at the press conference, how much he had to say about him. He was really high on him. Amir Ross as well, the offensive lineman from Duncanville, 6'7", 370 pounds. He may need to lose some of that weight so he can be a little quicker. Not all of it. You want him to be huge, but 370 is real heavy. That's big. That's big. And then, Cole Pryor, I imagine there's just not a ton of running backs right now. They brought in Greg Burrell from UNLV. They have Perry, they have Burgess, but there's not a lot after that. So I could see Pryor really getting some reps because we've seen them go 4 or 5 deep at running back. So that's who I see in the freshman group. The transfers, Kamari Terrell is one I'm very, very high on, the Oregon player. I think that's right. You asked about transfers as well, I'm pretty sure. See it right here. Yeah, absolutely. Asked about transfers. Kamari Terrell. I think it's funny. I went 2 DBs right off the bat for freshmen and transfer impact players, but they really need some DBs. I really like Shamar Kirk, the Miami transfer. I also like Tyron Smith, the Cincinnati transfer. Really, what I like is his tape from UTEP and the good stuff that he was honorable mention in Conference USA when he was at UTEP at wide receiver. Even Quincy Brown, I really like this. The wide receivers are bringing in. Quincy Brown's a 6'4" wide receiver. He's coming in from Nichols, but he was at TCU before that. Greg Burrell, I mentioned Cole Pryor. They need runners at running back. With Perry and Burgess are the main returners. I think Burrell's going to get in there quite a bit. On the defensive line, Kennard Snyder, the Iowa State, was at ULM before Iowa State. Him coming in, I feel like he's going to be a good edge player. Man, there's another pass rusher that I can't think of. I'm going to look at my notes app real quick. Devarick Woods. Yeah, of course. The junior college player. Really like him. Even Jordan Sanders, big guy in the middle right there. Those are the main ones. Really on that defensive line for these transfers. I like them a lot. And I mean, even what was where is he? Where's our there he is, Lysander Moyello out of Syracuse. That's a big guy. I think he's going to get in there and play with some positions being open on this offensive line. I think that we're going to see a lot. That's why I mentioned earlier in the episode, I really want to do an episode where it's almost a 2-3D prediction this early, just because there's so many new players, and a lot of these new players, I think they're going to get in there and start right away. So that'll be a fun one. We'll definitely do that this next episode. I can already tell my guy One Pack. He'll like that episode. So look for that one, my guy. This one's from LA Nation at the LA Nation. Kev, with us always looking to add quarterbacks in the portal, will it hurt us retaining QBs like Brad Jackson? Will it always add quarterbacks in the portal like Brad Jackson? Oh, I see what you're saying. Does it hurt? At first, I read that as, does it hurt? Does it make Brad Jackson want to leave? But I see what you're saying. Does it hurt retaining players like Brad Jackson when you can keep adding more players in the transfer portal? You can keep getting more transfer quarterbacks. No. I don't say it. At first, Brad Jackson's a really good player. If he had hopped in the portal, he would have gotten some love. PJ Hatter, he hopped in the portal, didn't put up a ton of stats. He went to Georgia State. Brad Jackson would have ended up equal to that, if not somewhere bigger and better. I think he's a really good player. So no, retaining him, definitely not. And somebody who has experience in this scheme as a true freshman, getting in there in this scheme, I think that's you can't put a price on a player that already knows the playbook. They don't have to learn the lingo. They don't have to learn the cavalcade of plays that goes in, especially being quarterback. There's just so much that gets cut out of the process by having a player come back that's already been in the system. It's why I was even saying, I'd love it if PJ Hatter jumped out of the portal and came back to Texas State, and they wouldn't have to go get a bunch of transfer guys because you'd have some players that already really know this offense, even though they're having to change an offensive coordinator from Mac Leftwich to Koppel, but they worked with each other. So it seems like it's going to be a similar offense. So no, I don't think that hurts to retain an experienced player like that. And because I don't think having a player like that on roster, it doesn't prevent you from adding more quarterbacks. As you can see, they've added 3 from the transfer portal after signing a high school player and having Brad Jackson already there. So it's this day and age, you got to hedge your bets. You know, somebody's bound to get salty and leave after spring practice. This one's from Kenny's Burner. Once again, Kenny's Burner back in the mix. Another question. Any other glaring problems you see with the team that you think should be addressed, like lack of depth, lack of NIL, etc.? Also, why did DePrado leave? Did he get offered more at New Mexico? The depth is looking great, especially after the players that they've just signed. We talked about discipline, but that's not really a part of this question. Really, going to your question, NIL. Yeah, you brought that one up. More NIL will get you better caliber players. That's for sure. I think if there is something that this program needs, it is more capital, whether it comes from fans or an increased TV revenue deal from realignment or what have you. And that's why you see all these moves to try and get more capital, try and get more money. It's paramount right now in college football. Unfortunately, but you can get the money, not unfortunately. Why did DePrado leave? In his deal, he said he's closer to home. I didn't look too far into that, where he's from and everything, how much closer to home that is. I have to imagine they offered him some more money as well. If you leave for a fellow G5 program in the same role, you'd have to imagine that was the situation. Yeah, I would imagine he got more money, and who knows? And like, there was shuffling going on, promotions going on, and maybe he felt that he wasn't as respected as he should be. But I didn't get that feel from him leaving, especially waiting until after the bowl game. It's very much like Pat Key last year before he announced that he took Duke. They waited till after the bowl game to put that info out there, even though that he already knew he was going to do that well before. I think that was the same situation with DePrado, where it's like, hey, this opportunity come up, and I'm going to go ahead and take it. Because if there was any sour feelings, I feel like he would have left a lot quicker than after the bowl game. Not to say that Mac Leftwich was feeling sour. I don't think that was the case. I think when Texas Tech is offering you over $1 million, go be the OC, they want you right then, so you go. And it was about a month away from the bowl game, so different scenarios. But yeah, that's why DePrado left. Great coach. Rooting for the best for him. Here we go. Here's our last one. We got to the bottom of it. Oh my goodness. Hopefully I didn't miss any of your questions out there. If I did, I sincerely apologize. This dude 666 at TX Bobcat 77. What's up, my guy? Talked to you plenty over the years. One of the great sickos out there. Really appreciate your support. What's the difference between what people are saying the Pac-12 can pay Texas State compared to the Sun Belt? Oh, this is another. Okay, he DM'd this one. That's why I didn't lump it into the other Pac-12 questions. But yeah, we went over that one where it's speculated between like 8 and 15 million. Who knows where that's gonna land? But the Bobcats are making just under 2 million, being in the Sun Belt, 2 million a year. So even if it's on the low end of the speculation at 8 million, that's a lot more than 2 million. So that's where it is with that. That's why they're looking for it. It's the TV money, and it's going to be more expensive to travel, like was asked before, but you'll be able to cut some of that cost with that extra money. But all right, that'll do it. We're going to wrap it up. This might be a record. This might be the longest one yet. I apologize in advance to the wizard, Zachary Webb. And this is going to be coming out late because now I'm looking at it. This is going to be like a Friday night dump. I may even let the wizard wait till Saturday to put it out. But check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/winnoworgetbent. Check out our merch site, wnogb.com. I am wearing the Mad Cat shirt right here. Bang, Win Now or Get Bent. If you're watching on YouTube, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. You can see me wearing that shirt. Check out our Twitter page at Win Now or Get Bent on Twitter, X. Check us out on Instagram at WNOGB. When we're TikTok, I'm really glad I never did a TikTok. For years, I was like, I should really get a TikTok. You know, with this pod, I could probably put clips up on TikTok. And I probably should get on that, but you know, they're probably gonna delete it, and they deleted it. I'm glad I didn't waste the time and exhaust all that effort just for it to go away. Feels good. Feel like I bet on a team to lose and they lost. Like, subscribe, comment on all our platforms, our audio platforms, Apple, Spotify. Get on YouTube. Leave some comments as well. Make an account for your friend and enemy, whatever you got. If you know somebody from UNT, make an account. Man, they will not leave me alone on Twitter. It's like they forgot that they lost that game. They just keep popping up in my comments, and I gotta bop them in the head like whack-a-moles. Gosh, I went to school there. I know how bad the sports culture is in Denton. Don't even try me, Greenbirds. I'm all over you. Anyways, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff on all our platforms, especially Apple and Spotify. We need more traction on there. As far as, I haven't had a good review or anything in a minute. If you haven't left an Apple review, go in there. Go get one. It'll pop up right on the top of the page when people download it. Thank you very much to TGC LLC, to McNabb & Co., to First Lockhart National Bank, and to Austin Patchmaster for sponsoring the pod. The wizard, Zachary Webb, the great wizard, our guy, always making this pod look great. Can't thank you enough. Go check out his cinematic recap from the bowl game. It's awesome. Did such a great job. We've got other multiple angles. We've got drone shots. Great stuff. Shout out to Andrew for helping us with that. Shout out to Hunter Schuler for helping us with that as well. Thank you to Reese Largent, our great intern. He's been doing great stuff talking about recruiting. Make sure you go follow him at Reese_Largent. I think I have that right. LARGENT for the last name. Reese is RHYS. Reese. Spelled not the way you think, not like Reese's Pieces. This is I think it's the English way of spelling Reese. But go check him out on Twitter. He's putting out the great content about recruits and everything, the ins and outs that's happening with Texas State sports. I got to have Reese on real soon, talk about these quarterbacks. Man, he had some great points with the quarterbacks where I was like, I think McCoy, he's the front runner in my mind. And he's like, well, you know, you never know, because they went and got 2 pocket passers with Yarnell and Holden. Maybe with the new OC, are they trying to change up the scheme? Maybe they're trying to go away from the horizontal play. Who knows? Who knows if they want that traditional pocket passer? I don't think so, but it's a great point, and he's onto it. So my guy Reese, a real sharp guy. Got to have him on the pod real soon. And of course, thank you, sickos. Thank you for tuning in. I'd be shouting out to the void without you. Sorry if I kept you waiting all week for your mailbag, but we got there. There's lots to go over, lots to answer it. Almost 2 hours of Win Now or Get Bent. Gosh, if you made it this far into the pod, hats off to you. You are the sickest of sickos, and I thank you more than anyone else. All right, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Win now or get bent.